Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of From the Logo. You are here with your temporary host, the GOAT, ZZ Huncho, alongside the GOAT Gifted Hoops, and we are waiting for the third GOAT of our show, Hayes, to pull up so we can talk about our title topic because I really want to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo's future. Other than that, hope everybody's having a great day. If you're a Lakers fan, LOL. If you're a Rockets fan, good Lord. We need to talk about Jalen Green. I saw Mars was the second comment before the show even started, talking about our unprofessionalism. Let's talk about Jalen Green's inefficiencies, bum. I'm kidding. I'll let you, Mars. But let's talk about Jalen Green, bro. I just want to talk about Jalen Green just because he is one of those players that I've given a lot of leniency to, if that makes sense. Like because I want him to succeed. I like his athleticism. You know, all the stuff off the court I could care less about, but he's a player that I genuinely could see people seeing potential in, right? He's not better than Alperen Sengun, but he's a player where you're like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, we see something here. Gifted. Jalen Green in game 1, 7 points, 3 of 15 shooting. Game 2, 38 points, 13 of 25 shooting, prime Michael Jordan numbers. Game 3, 9 points, 4 of 11 shooting. Last night, 8 points, 3 of 8 shooting. Talk to me.
Pretty sure there was a stat that said what B-Paz did in this game was the tied for the amount of points Green scored in 3 of his 4 games.
Good Lord.
I'm going to be honest, man. He's not good. And Mars has trolled a lot about Jalen Green. And I never took Mars seriously because it was clear that he was trolling because he kept talking about Jordan and Kobe. So all that other stuff. Jalen Green is one of the most disappointing players, you could argue, because he gives you moments where the flashes look crazy. Ooh, but then when you're watching him, he's really not that good of a player. And see, here goes Mars right on cue. If you take out game 1, 3, and 4, he's averaging 38. Yeah, we know the bullshit. He's not that good of a player. I don't really want to spend too much time on Jalen Green because he just hasn't been that effective for them. I do want to say though, like they're probably going to relocate him after this next season. I think if anything, this series is showing just how bad their offense is and how much of an improvement they have to have. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes with that for sure.
Yeah. Other takeaways in this series for me is like going into it, you know, on paper, the Rockets have the rebounding, they have the defensive edge, they have the talent, right? The youth and all this shit. But at the same time, it's like, dude, the Warriors and that championship pedigree or whatever you want to call it, that mentality that here's how I look at it. The Warriors and their chemistry, their culture, right?
Yeah.
It's up there with the Heat. It's up there with the San Antonio Spurs in the last 30 years and just what the culture means, what it means to put on that jersey. Some Lakers players as well, you know, like LeBron and I guess Luka and AD at one point. Austin Reeves is in that mix, you know what I'm saying? They just fit the culture, the vibe of the team. Jimmy Butler is one of those players, bro. And not to mention Jimmy and Buddy Hield's relationship. Like their personalities are just very different. So the fact that they're so buddy and cool with just roasting each other all the time, it just lets you know that energy is, that vibe is there. The Warriors feel like they can destroy these niggas on any given night, especially Steph Curry. But Mars just texted me. I said, "Yo, pull up if you want." He said, "So you can slander Jalen Green in my face? How dare you?"
He's not pulling up. He's not pulling up.
He knows. He knows. It's not. I ain't gonna slander.
He understands.
You know what I'm saying? He understands. Yeah. He gets it. But yeah. So for me, the takeaways from this series are, for one, the Warriors punching the Rockets in the face in the first quarter of the majority of the games in this series, just kind of getting out hot, or at least staying with them or staying composed. If the Rockets have a lead at halftime, the Warriors punch them in the mouth in the third quarter. It's like they're starting off the game setting the tempo is what I've noticed. The Rockets are trying to set the tempo of their own, but they're very sloppy all across the board. Ball handling wise, shot selection wise, shot creation wise, just sometimes playing too fast for their own good. What are your thoughts, Gifted, on what you have seen through 4 games of this series? What has this told you about either the Rockets or the Warriors?
So for me, my biggest takeaway is I knew the Rockets offense was bad. I knew that they had a inclination to miss free throws. I didn't know the free throw shooting was this abysmal. If they make a good majority of their free throws in both of these games, just by box score, they wind up winning the game. Obviously, there's more to basketball than just that, but their free throws have been a huge part of their problem. To me, if they were just a better free throw shooting team at the very least, they would be in a better position to succeed. But them being this bad offensively and this bad at free throws is a problem. I do want to give Steven Adams a ton of credit, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that I thought had really good value to the Memphis Grizzlies and showed a lot of that back when they were great. On this team, he's filled in a similar type of role, except now he really just snags pretty much every single rebound, generates multiple second chance opportunities. He's been very, very good for them. And I think the biggest problem I've had with their process so far is I don't know why in this overall series Jabari Smith isn't playing more minutes. He's been pretty good. So to like not go towards that and go away from that has been kind of odd. And to me, that's really a big part of why they're down a lot in this game. I think Jimmy Butler has been spectacular in 2 of his 3 games in the series. And for him to not really be that fully healthy, I do have to give him a ton of respect for it, because last night he was so big for us in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
What he did yesterday was crazy.
Mm-hmm. 14 points in the
wild,
fourth quarter. I agree with you on the Jabari Smith take, because my thing with him is the same way you feel about Jabari is the same way I feel about Jabari and Jonathan Kuminga in terms of their impact on this game, like, and what that really means for both teams. Kuminga throughout the regular season, I think it was like a 3-game series that they had, but he was like the second or third highest scorer for the Warriors through those games, north of 16 a game. Efficient for his standing and all that. Like, it was just, yeah. And he was an X factor in those games. You could tell when Steve put him in, and you're comparing benches, and yours is running a little bit more thin. But the one guy that you do have that could be an X factor, potentially wise, is Jabari Smith Jr. Rebounding, corner shooting, driving, all of these things. His athleticism, length alone is the reason that he can be an X factor and has been an X factor through some instances in this series so far, but it's just not a lot. I will say this too. Fred VanVleet, in the first 2 games, he was like 6 of 30 from the field or something like that. He was shooting terribly. And then he's sort of locked in the last couple of games here. My thing with him is and this goes back to how I felt about the Rockets going into the series. They have veterans in Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks. When Dillon Brooks was with the Grizzlies, you want to know why the Grizzlies could never get over the hump? It's because Dillon Brooks was their only veteran that they had. Even with Steven Adams on the team. Like Dillon Brooks was their main vet, was like their go-to guy. John Morant coming up to him, "Hey, Dillon, how should I approach this post-game press conference?" And then Dillon's like, what they tell you not to do? No, talk about guns. Well, talk about guns. Like, Dillon Brooks is that type of influence on the whole squad. Right. You need a player like that in certain instances, especially in the postseason. I'm all for it. Dillon Brooks being a menace, I'm all for it. Just please don't hurt any of my fucking players. But I'm here for it. Yeah. The problem that I have with the Rockets is, like, did you hear when Fred VanVleet said, when Jimmy went down right after, said to Draymond Green, "You better pray Jimmy come back." Jimmy. Yeah. And then the next game, no Jimmy. Steph dropped 35 plus on their head efficiently, absolutely slicing and dicing them. And then now we're in a situation where Jimmy comes back off of said injury, gets a nice 27, 14 in the clutch, 14 in the fourth quarter, rather, but multiple shots in the clutch, getting to the line, getting the 3 points the old-fashioned way, getting to the free throw line at the and one. Like, that's the type of player that he is. So if you're the Warriors and you're thinking about the psychological aspect of this series, being up 3-1 now, not only do you know you can beat him with Jimmy, you know you can beat him without Jimmy. Not only do you know that Steph Curry, if provoked, can just go and erupt on these motherfuckers. Draymond Green, if you put him on Alperen Şengün, Şengün's going to have the worst night of his entire life, or the worst night of his week, depending on his matchups. Everyone else on the Warriors, he seems to fry. But anytime he matches up on Draymond, it's just not the same. It don't hit the same. Shots is falling a little bit differently, rimming out and all that stuff. Like, it's different. And the fact that Quentin Post has been able to get some burn and have some impact as well. Let's talk about Quentin Post. Shout out Quentin. Shout out QP.
He's been huge, man. I think for me, the biggest thing with him, he has to get better at twos. He's awful at twos to me. Yeah. But the rebounding improvement from him in game 3 was a huge, like, he didn't hit any threes in game 3, but the rebounding and him like controlling possessions was big. The adjustment from Kerr to put him on Amin Thompson, the guard, worked out pretty well for us. And I just think the more he's able to develop those skills, he can be a really good big for this team in their next 3, 4, 5 years. He has a very consistent role, just consistently getting better and refining those skills in that role will really be a part of his skill ceiling moving forward on this Golden State team to me, bro. He's nice.
I agree. I like that take. Okay, now I want to transition into the Lakers. As we get into, we're about 10 minutes into the show. That was a pretty good topic covering the Warriors. But now let's talk about Los Angeles. Things are not always.
Wait. I forgot about this. Yeah, I'm sorry. There is a couple things we didn't talk about with this Warriors stuff. We can talk about Game 3, like the pressure of what Game 3 meant.
Yes. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
All right, look,
I just made a video on TikTok.
We forgot all about that.
Y'all go look at the video I just made on TikTok, right? Follow me on TikTok, ZZ Hunter, right? I just made a video yesterday. It's at 250,000 views right now. In said video, I say this game was very important for the Houston Rockets. They needed to win this game. 100%, no questions asked. You don't have Jimmy Butler based off the statement that Fred VanVleet made saying you better pray that he comes back.
And then what did Fred VanVleet come out and do in that same game, by the way?
Absolutely nothing. Now let me say this. Steph Curry, we just gotta give flowers where it's due. Bro's 37. And it just doesn't matter. He sees the game differently, knew everything that they were going to throw at him. And I find it interesting. I do find it interesting that for looking at how Luka Doncic has been reading double teams and things like that. If they're double teaming him high up as soon as he crosses half court, like the Timberwolves did at the end of the previous game. The way and this is no slight to Luka. It's just I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Timberwolves defenders themselves, but Steph himself is always running around. Luka, if you send a double at him high up and his roller isn't as good of a roller as he might have had with Derek Wright or Daniel Gafford or something, it's Jackson Hayes if he's even on the floor because he only played like 4 minutes. But whoever the center is has got to be able to keep the offense moving, keep pieces moving, keep playing chess with the defense. Luka Doncic, if he gets that pass off, if he sees a double coming and he splits it and gets the pass off, he's just standing there, or he's going to go stand in the corner and wait for the offense to come to him. Steph's always moving at the age of 37. So
the offense, I think 3 miles in that game too.
Yeah, like it, and I'm not saying, like I say, I'm not trying to slight Luka. I love that man, but it's like two different styles of basketball, two different offenses that you can run because you have two different players on the court. Doesn't matter their age. Luka's 25, Steph's 37. But if he isn't and the Warriors also have become a Steph-centric offense, heliocentric, however you want to call it, way more than they were 8 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. No Klay Thompson no more. No Andre Iguodala. No KD. It's Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. It's two of the smartest offensive players in basketball, and Steph Curry. So if you have that element, and I feel like, and like I said, Game 3 there is no Jimmy Butler, so now you're relying on old reliable, me and my screen partner, me and Draymond. Steph Curry, the way he was able to pick apart that defense, not just the 35. I think he had like over 6 assists, 6 rebounds too. Like he was incredible in that game, just the way that he read the game. The Rockets, you could tell, hadn't been at this level in quite some years, right? Steph Curry's been here before with the same team multiple times, just a different iteration of it, right? And I said this in my video as well. No James Harden, no Chris Paul, no Amen Thompson, Curry stopper, no Dylan Brooks, no Alperen Şengün, Dwight Howard back in the day. It didn't matter what the Rockets had. As long as the Warriors got Steph Curry, they're going to be all right. That's just all. That's all that matters. That's it. That's all.
He had 36 points. He played at an extremely high level in the game. What I gotta say is like the amount of people that stepped up with Steph Curry throughout the game to help really solidify the deal. First off, Gary Payton II, for him to hit the threes that he hit, was so crucial in the game. His defense, like he was just a complete net positive. But Buddy Hield, the guy that I have lowered my expectations for tremendously, where I just don't expect much, stepped up tremendously with some big threes. Also, his defense in this series has been good.
Yes.
It's been good defense. Like he's actually like rebounding the ball. And now I will say as good as that was, there was a moment in game 3 where it's like, dog, you let Steven Adams turn you over.
I saw that shit. Yep.
I still don't like when he dribbles like that, but
Mhm.
outside of that, we got a lot of people really chipping in. And the funny part, there were so many people that just guaranteed this was a Rockets W. They have no Jimmy Butler. This is the same team before the deadline. Like, I remember what was being said, and Steph was making miracle threes in people's faces at the time. So that was crazy.
I'll say this too, to your point about Gary Payton. Back to my point about Luka Doncic and high double teams. Steph Curry and Gary Payton, right? Because the Warriors do love to run a small ball lineup. In those same situations, if Steph crosses half court and say the Rockets throw Amen Thompson and Jalen Green at him, and Steph Curry splits that double team with a bounce pass through the middle to Gary Payton is a smart enough player, at least playing within the Warrior system, to know if I drive and attack downhill while two people are stuck on my light-skinned Messiah, I can drive on in, create more space, and or just straight get to the cup based off his athleticism and his long-ass wingspan. He was getting a lot of those just dump it off to Gary and just let him drop step right to the rim. Draymond does that same thing, but his drop step is looking for the corner or a backdoor lob. The way that offense runs is enough to where your head's still going to have to be on a swivel, even if your head's on a swivel guarding Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to be focused on if we put who's the best person we can put on him as the POA defender. But then they're also going to have to worry about double teaming him at the right moments because Steph is a player that's seen a double team for the last 12 years.
I mean, he saw a boxing one in the NBA for the first time in the finals.
Yes, bro.
Like that's a different level of like dangerous player offensively if you can think to run a boxing one to stop him from scoring.
Insane. And
then still to highlight,
and then to highlight Buddy Hield, his defense has been great. But you want to know what I've noticed? Even if, because my thing with Buddy is to your point about your expectations. If Buddy miss his first 2 threes, I lose interest. But in a game like this series, if he's missing his first 2 threes, Jalen Green's chirping at him, say a little something, make him lock in. Oh, okay. Now I gotta. Okay,
yeah.
So and to this point, if it takes a player like that, Buddy Hield isn't known for his defense; he's known for his 3-point shooting. The same thing happened with Dame before he got hurt. Prayers up to Dame. Hope he gets better. But Dame, the same thing happened with him with Halliburton, and they was chirping earlier on in the series in the first game that he came back. And he was locking up Tyrese Halliburton just off of the chirping alone. He was more attentive on defense. He still ended up with less than 15 points in the game overall, but he locked in for a couple possessions after that, and I think he made a 3. But Buddy Hield is applying that same exact logic to the Houston Rockets, saying to them, he said to Jalen Green, I saw him mouth it. He said, "You ain't like that. You ain't all that," or something like that. He's right. Jalen Green isn't all that. Jalen Green thinks he is, but maybe Ime Udoka probably told him within the last 2 games, especially since that 30 piece or 38 piece, hey, look, try to shoot less than 15 shots tonight, and we'll see how close we are to winning this game. And
I mean, it's reached the point where like he might start pulling him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things too. He's lucky he's an okay defender to the point where he's just springy and can shift his feet quickly. And he's a good like weak side defender in some instances as well. But like he's lucky that he's good in that regard. I feel like because if not, he would be getting benched, and it just will be what it is. And this goes back to my point about Kevin Durant some episodes ago. Houston needs a player like Kevin Durant. And if you're wondering who's going to be the piece to move away from that or move up off of that to acquire him, or who may not be around by the time he gets there in this hypothetical scenario, it would be Jalen Green. Alperen Sengun has to stay in whatever deal that you do. But Jalen Green would be the one to go because they need a guaranteed bucket getter, not a fake bucket getter. That's what Jalen Green has been in this series and for the majority of his career up until this point. But, yeah, that's my feelings on it.
Fair. Yeah, no. I think that a lot of this series came down to what do you trust more? The Houston Rockets have been a top 2 defense in the playoffs, so we respect them. It's still hard for Golden State to consistently score against this defense,
right?
But they're not a two-way team. They're not a balanced team. It's mainly just the defense side of the basketball with a lot of holes offensively. I think for this Rockets team, you were able to overcome many people's expectations, but now you have expectations. Now you have to actually build on that blueprint, which makes me think that KD trade that, by the way, I said this like a year ago, Z's. I was telling people there's a chance like they're gonna be interested in getting Kevin Durant. I was laughed at. Now it's a real thing now.
Right.
All Norris lock in type shit. But this is why I feel like this series at least gives them a gauge of where they really are. And where they really are is you're a good team. You can keep these games competitive, but winning at the next level, offense matters, bro. You can't just be a full, like people say defense with championships. All the good defenses have had a guy or a half-court set offensively where they could score against good defense.
Right.
You need both. You have to have a good enough offense and an even better defense. That's what it is.
And the thing with the Warriors is like, and the thing I love also about being a Warriors fan, in post, I guess, 2022 rather, but like, is the fact that you've always heard the undersized argument for the Warriors, even dating back to the last 10 years. I mean, I remember hearing it in 2015, and in 2019 when they were talking about how, despite the fact that they had Steph, KD, and Clay, could they be vulnerable because they have a thin bench? But like you said, in those years, the Warriors could still fall back on a top 5 defense at the very least. At the very least. And so in these years, in the 2020 decade, the one thing that they've been able to fall back on is if they don't have enough height on paper, you know what I'm saying, they can still be a top 5 rebounding team. They can still be a top 5 defense, along with the top 5 offense that Jimmy Butler has helped them, a number 1 offense rather, that he's helped them accumulate since he's been there. I think they have the best record in basketball since Jimmy Butler became a Warrior. I think they're better than the Thunder. Maybe. Thunder may have got them by a game or two, but it ain't close. It's the impact overall and what the team is able to do on multiple different areas of the game, having multiple different areas covered. If we don't have enough bigs, and what did they do in this series in the first 2 games? Because the Rockets were killing them on the glass, even though the Warriors still were able to outscore them in certain instances. But Steve Kerr said, okay, let's bring in Quentin Post. All right, let's bring in Kevon Looney. Let's have Draymond focus more on getting rebounds. And let's have Draymond more catered towards the restricted area to just be there to get the damn thing. Jimmy Butler also was just a phenomenal rebounder. Jimmy Butler, when he was out, the rebounding load that he would have taken went to Steph Curry. He had damn near a triple-double almost in that game. So the team itself is able to lock in on certain areas that they need to when called upon. That's what I like about this team in comparison to the Houston Rockets. The Milwaukee Bucks up 26-11. Now, look, Kevin Porter Jr., ladies and gentlemen, said like 48 hours ago that if any team can come back from 3-1, it's this Milwaukee Bucks team. Chat.
Yeah.
Chat, is he right or is he lying?
I mean, listen, bro. I want to get your thoughts about it real quick.
On the Bucks, if they're able to come back in this series?
Yeah.
So for me,
thoughts about it real quick before I say anything.
For me, I don't, and here's why I'm going to say no. The Indiana Pacers are fully capable of going on like a 23-3 run at any point in this game tonight, right now. The Indiana Pacers are fully capable of going on an offensive barrage for a quarter or something, in which point you would have to ask the Milwaukee Bucks more. You would have to ask, I guess, Giannis, who probably already would have 30 at that point, but you would be asking Kevin Porter Jr., you would be asking AJ Green, you'd be asking Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. You would be asking what's left of this team, right? To be able to help withstand the front that's put on by an Indiana Pacers team that, when hot, is one of the best offenses in the Eastern Conference, maybe in the league. Because of that, I don't think that the Bucks have enough offensive firepower to combat that. Even if Giannis gives you 35, 12, and 4 blocks, it doesn't matter. In a series like this, are you gonna? And if you were to ask me this question, can they drop a game? Yeah, they can drop a game. But the Pacers are a team that I feel like if they drop this game tonight, they will mollywop them in the next game, in game 6. Mollywop them. Just based on the fact that you would be asking whoever's going off right now, because I don't have the game pulled up, but chat, who's going off right now? Is Giannis doing his thing? Is KPJ doing all right? Because I actually do rock with KPJ on the Bucks this year. He has been a very, very consistent bench piece for them. honestly. So respect to KPJ, but is it sustainable? That's the question. I don't think so. How about you, Gib?
I mean, I said this all year long, and this is why I had the Pacers. I didn't trust this Bucks team. And like independent of Dame, because there are going to be people who want to say, well, if Dame was healthy earlier with this, well, when we saw a few glimpses of Dame healthy, Dame wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest with you, right? Dame was not playing at a high level. In fact, the one series when they do have in this, guess who had 37? Not Dame, Gary Trent Jr.
Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, you thought I was going to say Giannis. No.
I completely forgot
Gary
about
Trent had 37. You feel what I'm saying? They had like 12 points. Yeah. So like, I'm sorry, but it's like for me, when I looked at it, the chemistry between them all year long has been kind of He didn't play a lot towards the end of the regular season, and I don't do hypotheticals. I do what is it right now.
Right.
So if I had to choose who the better team was, I'm going Pacers. And the reasoning why to me is the Pacers defense post All-Star break has been one of the best in the league. Their offense, after that tough start, has stabilized back to being the Pacers' fast, quick offense.
Right.
And I'm sorry, what do I know about the Pacers? They shoot a shit ton of threes.
Yep.
What I know about the Bucks, Brook Lopez drop coverage, it's coming. And what happened? Shot the shit out of them in multiple games. Like the shit that Miles Turner was doing in this series, from a three-point shooter perspective, from a defense perspective, he was having such a high impact in the series, which is why they're up 3-1 right now in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Dame. I think Dame tearing his Achilles is going to hurt his value for teams to trade for him after this season in the future. He's going to probably miss all of next year. This also can really be the last domino to really impact Giannis in terms of if he wants to ask for a trade or not. A lot of people don't think he will, but I think the prospect of Dame actually hurting himself and not even being healthy enough for him to think, okay, we can win it both, I think will make him think about leaving earlier on. So it's a bad spot right now. Also, the Bucks have no like actual assets to move things with in terms of draft capital outside of the expiring contracts they have. So it's gonna be rough, man. I don't know where to go from the Bucks, but I think if there's anything that needs to be learned from this is people have to stop thinking about teams with they have X or Y player and think about the entire roster and how they play.
It's also, that's very true. Very true. It's also a matter of like, when I look at this Milwaukee Bucks team and I think about Giannis's tenure as a Milwaukee Buck, you can't help but ask the question, has the tenure run its course? And what I mean by that is when you think about certain players like the franchise players of the new era, the Giannis's, the Jokers, the Jokic's, the Lukas, the whatevers, you have to ask yourself if they've played for more than 7 years there, 7 to 10 year time frame, what have they done in that duration? What have they done with their body of work? When you look at a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo and what he's done in a Bucks uniform, 2-time back-to-back MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, champion, Finals MVPs, think scoring leaders up in there at some point. And so for me, Giannis is probably, if not the greatest Buck ever, the second greatest Buck ever, and it is what it is. He is about to be 30, I think, or he is 30, one of the two. And so when you think about household names and all of that and that tenure, you got to also think about him and his future. And if the future looks bright enough to where you can see a shimmer, a slight glimpse of championship gold, I don't think that the Bucks have that. I don't. And when I also think about Damian Lillard being 34 years of age, having this debilitating injury that we know is 15 years ago a career ender, it's tough. Dame was the long shot, the Hail Mary throw for them to convince Giannis, hey, look, we're not stupid. We know what we're doing, kind of. We want to at least give you something in the Eastern Conference that isn't as competitive as the Western Conference, Giannis. So, hey, we still have a chance if everything goes right. And we got Kyle Kuzma. And Giannis was like, nah, bro, look, that's not what we need. So now we're in a situation where they're definitely going to lose the series, and it's going to be another first-round failure, first-round exit. And then Giannis is going to be looking at other teams, probably in the same conference, maybe like the Miami Heat. What if he becomes the Heat? What if he goes and joins Heat culture, surrounds himself with a young cast of maybe not the best players, but he'll have maybe a Tyler Hero if they can keep him, or at least very least
Yeah.
Bam Adebayo. So, and at the very least, a coach that he knows is long tenured, strict front office body fat percentage regimens, all of that is intact. Like they know that everything over there is strict. It is basketball. We are hooping. You ain't got to worry about no distractions. We all band together, whatever. If I look at Giannis and I'm thinking about right now, and especially next year, they're gonna have to bleed everything they can out of Giannis. And at the beginning of this season, when they started out like 1-8, Giannis was averaging damn near like 37 a game, and they were still losing. So if I'm Giannis, do I really want to go through that again with Dame's timetable of return not known for the foreseeable future? And
especially after you won, like he won. You feel me? So it's like there's nothing really tied him to staying in Milwaukee outside of wanting to stay there and be there with his family. But if he's still true to his word, he's still trying to win. Not having Dame for the entire year pretty much exclusively lets him know we're not winning.
Yeah. If this was my career, I would have been out 2 years after I won my championship in 2021. I would have been gone just based on the direction of where I thought the team might end up going, and then I would have been proven right. Because to be honest with you, let me ask you this question, and chat, feel free to chime in on this as well. How impactful was the Chris Middleton trade? In a good or a bad way? Anyway, either way.
While we wait for chat to respond there with that, my thing about the Chris Middleton trade, I understood why they did it. I feel like a lot of people tried to like act like they didn't really understand. To me, it was trying to upgrade their roster. They thought that Kyle Kuzma could give them some upside a bit more than Chris Middleton, because Chris Middleton's injuries would maybe stop him from being reliable in the playoffs. Which in a vacuum, Kuzma should be better than nothing if he didn't play. Although Kuzma did have a game where he legitimately did nothing out there when he was playing. But also the other thing is like now if it frees up the cap space to where they're not over the second apron, they have multiple contracts expiring, and they can pivot. The only problem is when they're trying to trade for other players that are very, very good. Outside of the assets, you don't have any draft capital to do it. So it's like, yeah, you did that, but you also lost Chris Middleton, which to me, like, you could make some type of argument that Chris could look better next year, but he's also older and has injury concerns. So to me, like, they're just in a bad spot all the way through and through. This roster for many years has been getting older around Giannis. Giannis at this point is really the only like real athleticism outside of late year KPJ that really brings this roster
maybe
through and through.
Andre Jackson, maybe.
Maybe. Which I don't even bother saying his name because he doesn't play like that.
Yeah. And and that leads me to my next point. Youth. Bucks don't have anything. The Warriors, at least we can sit over here and say, well, shit, if Kuminga walks next year, we still got Moody and Pods and TJD and Quentin Post, and like we got something. But the Bucks don't have anything that is worth being
high upside or whatever.
About. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like it's not. They don't have. If I'm a Bucks fan, I'm not looking at anybody on that bench besides what AJ Green.
AJ Green would be the name.
Yeah, being like excited. Like I don't like what. But then again, like you said about Kuz, I understand the idea of the trade and what they really were trying to do. They felt they already had moved off of Drew Holiday. They felt Chris Middleton was getting older and he was running the sidekick option. And then the best person that they could find on the market was Kyle Kuzma. I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is that Kyle Kuzma, I feel like, has been playing basketball like he still is in Washington. That's an issue for me. Like, if I'm a Bucks fan, you have a whole different responsibility. You're not pushing to win more than 15 games over here and within an 82-game sample size. We were trying to win and go deep into the postseason. We're trying to be a postseason team. This is the first time that Kyle Kuzma's been in the postseason since, 2021 in the play-in. Well, I think he was hurt, as well. So, like, it's – to me, I feel like he isn't playing with that urgency, that sense of, like, I want to be on this team. And it wasn't until – he had the donut, and then the next game he had like 7 points or something, and it was like, oh yeah, and then they still lost, and it was whatever. But so For me, the Bucks' sense of direction is terrible. It's nothing that seems to be a sign of good things to come, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I will agree with LKIB first. I'll shout out to y'all. Kuzma has not been good, man. I'm sorry. He just hasn't. I think they were rooting on Kuzma to be similar from what he was in his Laker days. He has not looked good since maybe 2 years ago with like his first or second year on the Wizards. It's been looking bad right now.
I knew
And
he was gonna be more terrible than he was last year. I think he started off the preseason airballing like 3 straight shots. Y'all remember that shit?
Yeah, them air balls look bad, man. I'm telling you, I saw that. I'm like, I'm not high on this shit, man. I'm not.
I was like, damn,
I'm not.
Kuz, I'm trying
I
to
am
give you
not.
some type of like yellow brick road to success again. Another championship, maybe, just to be a catalyst on a championship team. You could have even a J.R. Smith 2020 championship role if you want. But damn, it's not looking promising in the slightest for this nigga. Anyway, so yeah, I don't think that Giannis's future is there. Now let's throw out some teams that Giannis would be suitable for, or you could at least see him playing for en route to trying to win a championship again. Chat.
So like, is it just game? So like, is it just fit, or they have the assets to also get him too?
You could say a little bit of both, actually, because I was gonna lean more towards like I feel like that heat answer. That would be more of a fit thing. What are you looking to be a part of? If you can't, like, I feel like he would want to be, like, realistically speaking, Giannis will probably have the Warriors in his top 3 of like offenses to be a part of, but maybe it's not as feasible. So the Heat would be my pick in that regard. Honestly, in terms of assets, let's not rule out the Thunder. Just let's not rule them out. All right, let's just keep them over there in the corner and give them a snack or something. Keep them quiet. But the Thunder, in terms of assets, I think they probably could figure out something to make something shake. But that would just depend on a failed run this postseason or not.
I think Boston's a great name.
Boston, okay, I like that.
I say Boston because to me, they built up so much equity with Jaylen Brown, but at the end of the day, having Jaylen Brown on a team with Tatum, they're both going to make a high percentage of your cap. Money-wise, Brown can work for Giannis, number 2. And then number 3, at least in their mind, they can say, okay, we're getting some like young guy that could be like our next guy who's also extremely good, has won before, he's a Finals MVP, like that would be like the fluff to like making that work.
Right.
It would take Giannis requesting to go there, but I also think Boston just understands how to pivot early. The one thing I feel like Boston, I can't speak. The one thing people don't give Boston enough credit for, at least in my opinion, is they do not give them the credit for pivoting super early. They pivoted off of a player like Marcus Smart, which is emotional, all this, quickly got a title. Right. They got, I believe, Holiday there too. Like they went quick with it. Yep. To me, they're gonna do that again. I think they are acknowledging the timelines, this and that, and how restrictive this new CBA is gonna be, and how by having Brown and Tatum, they're going to restrict their timelines. In my opinion, Giannis also isn't crazy old to not want to pair him with Tatum. I think that is a good fit. They both have ball handling capabilities, and also this can make Tatum a more off-ball player, which, in my opinion, can make him more impactful in space.
Yeah.
So I can see that happening.
If he's, and I agree with that too. If he becomes an off-ball player, those sidestep threes are going to become less common. But when they happen, he'll probably already have enough momentum and rhythm built off of those catch and shoot opportunities or flare screens or whatever they try to run. Whatever action they try to run with them, because the Celtics, I mean, they do run a lot of flare screens actually, but they're more the way that you look at their offense, especially in how they get guys open for threes and or backdoor cuts, or just finding the open lanes that would benefit Giannis. Like imagine Giannis in transition with Tatum and Derek White, breaking out with him, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's just that would be some interesting basketball to see. But yeah, I like Boston. We got Boston, Miami. Those are good. Those are interesting fits. 2 teams that have beaten them in the playoffs before. Trying to I heard some whispers about New York, but that could probably just be Knicks fans being delusional. What more do y'all want? For real. Y'all niggas didn't beat anybody in the East that was top seed, top team. this year. So, or was it? Was it that, or was it above 500 teams? Whatever it was, they were 0 for like 10. But shit, the Knicks.
Yeah.
I like the Knicks anyway, based off what they have. They just need, honestly,
Depth.
yes, that's the word I was looking for.
More people. Yeah.
But yeah. So other than that, though, Minnesota and the Lakers. Let's talk a little bit about that. Lakers down 3-1. Let me know your biggest takeaways from this series since we've been through the first 4 games so far.
Who had the Wolves before the series started?
Oh, you did. Hey, look. I actually didn't have anybody coming out of the series. I didn't make any picks, rather. But but the one thing I did say was we have the potential to see Lakers and Warriors second round as opposed to first round. But right. I did say stop sleeping on the Minnesota Timberwolves like they're about to just get walked
people slept.
Over.
They said them in 5 or like most people I knew either had them in 5 or 6. And they didn't say much about the Wolves. It's just Luka, LeBron, 48 minutes. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I looked at it as Jackson Hayes is your center, who's not a rim protector, who might play limited minutes. I just didn't really believe in that. To me, the Wolves have turned a corner in terms of Anthony Edwards reading and processing the double teams and making the reads. Also think like the motor he's found on both ends for the entire game has been a lot larger. And the Wolves are just living with Luka or LeBron magnet ball, killing them. Now, what I didn't like is in that pivotal game 4, they overreacted a ton. Like there are moments where they would send double teams to Luka late, and that would lead to him finding a open Rui or Austin Reeves for 3. And that's why they're coming back in the fourth quarter to me. And it's like if you just kept to the same game plan that you had for the entire series, you look a lot better. Also, I think, playing all your starters 24 minutes, every single minute in the second half isn't a good decision from JJ. But at the same time, when you're talking about who he has to like check into the game over them, this team's not good. Like they don't have many good role players that can play consistent roles for them. So I just thought that, like the variance of what the Wolves have with Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Mike Conley. Like they just have way more guys that can do things at a higher end level than the Lakers do, where they're really relying on Luka. You have to have 30 or LeBron. Like one of y'all have to have 30. The other has to at least have 25. And we need AR to average 15, which he's been shut down for a lot of the series. The best third option in the NBA for a lot of people, apparently, got shut down in the series. To me, this is what happens when you put a legitimate defense out there for a full overall series. So, to me, I don't think this is a bad thing. Like, the amount of Laker fans I see crying and being sad that they're losing and they're down 3-1. Like, this is the most entitled franchise I've ever seen in my life, almost, because you traded for Luka Doncic.
Yeah,
like the trade you made was not like this. This is very much so a roster that was built on LeBron and Anthony Davis. You trade for Luka, everything changes, right? You didn't like. No one cared about having Jackson Hayes because at most he would play like 10 minutes. You have Anthony Davis, make it work fine. I hear all that. You have Luka. You weren't able to outfit this exact roster the same way you wanted to, but there's time to build things out. And that's the point for me. So like people being so like focused on this season with that trade just didn't really make much sense to me, especially when this roster wasn't a complete one. And this is the first year of JJ Redick in the playoffs. So I'm not really mad at it.
I'll say this too, to that last point about the first year. Yes, that is why I did not put as much expectation on them to really make a deep playoff run or make big noise in this first year of trading Luka Doncic, because if you make a trade that stupid, or in the Lakers case, that amazing to land Luka Doncic, in that first year, you got to know that the depth and things like that, you're not necessarily going to have. LeBron's first year in Miami, that 2011 Heat team is not the same team as the 2013 Heat, or 2012 Heat. They had depth, or at least a little bit more of it than what the 2011 team had. The 2019 Warriors, I've talked about a numerous amount of times on this show. They were the tail end of the KD Warriors because they did not have depth. And once KD tore his Achilles, I mean, if Klay didn't get hurt, the Warriors definitely would have at least pushed that bitch to 7. But they just didn't have any answer besides maybe whatever Sean Livingston had left in Iguodala. But that's my point. When you have yourself in situations like this, like the Lakers do, you could have probably avoided some of these issues with the Mark Williams trade had it not been rescinded. You probably could have avoided a little bit of these issues. You know what areas that you need to cover, especially if you lose in 5 games to this Timberwolves team. You know what areas that you need to cover in the offseason in order to make the team seem like they can have a more positive and optimistic direction going forward. That's defense. You need it. In my opinion, Gifted, I'm just going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
Get Jared Vanderbilt up off this team. Not because he's not a good player, not because he's not a good fit, but he's not a good fit with this Lakers team. There's no way that you can have a player like Jared Vanderbilt unless he gets a consistent corner 3. I hope he does. But for me, a player like him that I've heard repeatedly from Lakers fans in the last 2.5 years, oh, wait till we get Jared Vanderbilt back. Well, oh, he got this player, you got that player. Wait till we put Jared Vanderbilt on him. You can't play him. You can't play him.
Yeah, it's hard.
Jackson Hayes, like you said, looked like prom DeAndre Jordan with the Clippers at one point in this season because of Luka Doncic and what his true shooting percentage numbers went up to. You can't play him more than 5 minutes a game in this series because, like you said, no interior presence. He's just athletic. He's nothing more than an alley-oop attraction. Players like Obi Toppin used to be like that, where they were nothing more than just like the excitement, the thing to bring the noise up another level or decibel in the arena. Until he developed a good 3-point shot, until he developed a good driving game, until he developed great offensive rebounding skills and defensive rebounding skills, all these things to make up for other areas of him just being an athletic person. Jackson Hayes still hasn't done that yet. Jared Vanderbilt is still a one-dimensional player. The Lakers need to get away from these one-dimensional players. Rui Hachimura has been a great addition to this team since he's been there, right? In certain games, it's like they'll lose, but Rui had a really good impact. In that game 4, he had a really good impact, especially in the second half, right? Like, yeah. So, and like you said about the Timberwolves, they have depth. They also have guys that know their role and know how to apply it, right? When you look at the fact that JJ Redick felt like he had no choice but to play all of his starters for the entirety of the second half, it was a stupid decision, but what other decision could you have made based off of the adjustments that you saw or lack thereof from JJ, or at least what the pressure of what the Timberwolves were doing en route to them taking the lead in that fourth quarter? Anthony Edwards was literally saying, okay, they're tired. I'm going to go down. I'm going to fake like I'm going to go left on a screen, fake Hezzy, pull a 3, and knock it down. Just picking apart the team. Naz Reid picking apart their or whatever second unit option that they could possibly find earlier on in the game. That's why they had to go with the starters for the second half. Just all of these question marks that you have for this team, I feel like makes me think this is not the iteration of the Lakers team that we can fully judge what they do next season, what they do in the offseason, the additions that they make, the subtractions that they make. That's going to be where we judge them. Because in LeBron's case, he's only getting older. So the window of LeBron's retirement is getting closer and closer. So that also means that the slight window of contention that they have, because they just have Luka and LeBron, is also closing. You got to figure out a way to combat that. You got to figure out a way to fill out the rest of the holes on this team, basically. That's how I feel.
I hear a lot of people criticizing Luka's play style, and my problem with that is I'm more upset about his conditioning as a player, because I think that will definitely better suit him on both ends in the future when he fixes that. But to me, it's like Luka's on a team where there's no real lob threat. Jackson Hayes isn't good enough to play in the series. Right. Vando is a offensive liability. He's a 0. There's too many one-way players. Yeah. You need to get wings and shooters. That's been the whole path. Dallas went to the finals last year because they had that. Now, they were outclassed by Boston because Boston was a better team that was also constructed for a longer amount of time than the Mavs were. keep in mind, Boston had their roster at the start of the season with a training camp. Dallas made that trade halfway through, changed their entire personnel, and then got things going that year.
Yeah.
And didn't have any chance to really build off it. So it takes time to win. I think the real talents of whatever Rob Pelinka can do are going to be tested this offseason, where you rub yourself free of any Anthony Davis talks and have an entire offseason to develop the team and your vision and your image around Luka and LeBron for right now.
Yep.
We're going to see exactly how good his GM, president of basketball operations skills really are.
And I'll say this too. Rob has done a lot of great things to get his image corrected from the Russell Westbrook trade because of what limitations that trade did for the team at the time. And everything looked bleak, especially their immediate future, until he corrected that mistake, if you will. And I'm not saying that to slight Russ in any way. I'm just saying from a president of basketball operations perspective, he made a big trade. It didn't pay off. He had to fix it. It's like Marvel and what they do with their movies every 5 years. You invest, it doesn't pay off, everybody hates it, and then you try to throw something else out there to get by. Now you're in a situation where it's not just about you getting by, but it's about where your window falls. We talk about Luka and LeBron and how great they are offensively. Yes, they are. But can we get to like you said earlier? Can we please step away from just a team looking good off of household names, or because you have 2 star players or 3 star players in the case of like the Phoenix Suns? That's hey, that's enough to get by. That's enough. They don't need a bench. They don't need a defense. They don't need no, bro. No. If they don't have any of that, then at the very least, every single one of them, from the first man to the 12th man, 15th or whatever, to the towel boy, needs to be locked in on winning a championship. Everybody waking up, getting to the gym early at the same time, running laps, all that Kobe mentality shit. That's what needs to happen if you don't have any of that. For you to at least make me say, you know what? Y'all still suck, but at least y'all trying. At least y'all locked in. At least y'all look like y'all trying to go somewhere. Like the Pistons this year. They had the worst year you could possibly ask for last year until the Wizards showed us a little something this year for a little bit. But the Pistons turned all of that around. Cade said, look, I'm 22, 23 years old, but if I got to be the leader, fuck it. I bet. Let's go. Pulling away Ron Holland from potentially getting a technical foul. Just the little stuff like that. Remember, I had to debate Cade Cunningham against other people in the best player in the 2021. Other people, Evan Mobley. I was going to say Evan Mobley. I had to debate Cade versus Evan Mobley, which is hard enough. But I said these things. Cade Cunningham leading this team needs to be looked at. We got to just stop what we're doing and pay attention to that. And Cade, in this instance, being down in this series, but he's been the one constant focal point for this team. The one issue that the Pistons have had in this series too, and I do want to touch on them just a little bit. The one issue that they've had in this series is the same issue that they were having last year. Closing games. That's how I viewed them in this playoff series. How about you?
Yeah, man. I feel like with this playoff series, closing games is one thing, but it's also mentality, right? It's the like direct approach that you're trying to take ultimately when it comes down to how you want to behave and respond in the series. I think for me, when I'm looking at it, right, who do you think are the best 2 teams are right now in the NBA?
Best 2 teams in the NBA right now?
Right now.
Thunder and the Thunder and the Cavs.
Thunder and Cavs, right? You didn't say Boston, even though you think Boston can probably rise to that level.
Yes.
In terms of what we've seen,
right?
Like we just saw the Cavs show you how to sweep a team. They dominated them.
Right. That's literally. I literally had them and the Celtics in my head. I said, you know what? Because of how dominant they were in Miami series,
like I gotta give them by 155 for the series. Right. So but that's my point. We look at those 2 teams. What's the one similarity? They have many guys that can chip in and give you variance, give you really good play. But their defense has been hellacious.
Mm-hmm.
OKC's been a better defense. The Cavs have probably been the better offense.
Yeah, right.
So there's right. So there's 2 different ways. That's why I think everyone wants to see that finals, because those are very contrasting styles in a full 7-game series with changes. But that's my thing, right? I'm looking at approach. For all these other teams so far in the series, the approach is not looking the same as those teams. I feel like.
And here's the one thing I will say too. For a team like and I agree with that for a team like the Knicks in this scenario being up in this series, but it feels like it should be 2-2 based on the fact that Josh Hart foul buddy, but it is what it is. Who's it? Tim Hardaway Jr. in that corner, or foul Tim Hardaway Jr. In situations like that, it makes me look at the Knicks a little bit differently. With the Warriors and their approach to the Rockets, like for example, I looked at Game 3 and I remember thinking, I'm not as nervous, even though I know the stakes, even though I know Jimmy's not playing, but as long as they got Steph and Draymond there to kind of help the young guys know, like, or the rest of the guys that's going to need to step up, like, hey, look, leave it all on the floor, give it your all. This is going to be a tough one, but we're going to see what we can do, right? You know what I'm saying? Like having that approach. And it looked like I said, the Warriors setting the tempo in a lot of these games so far has set them apart from the second-seeded Houston Rockets. And I said this too. It doesn't matter about the seeding at all. That's what I've also noticed, and especially in the Western Conference.
The process of how you play is all that matters right
exactly.
now.
If you can match up well with another team, like let me throw a little bit of love to Minnesota. The one thing that people weren't giving Minnesota even the slightest bit of credit for, because I get it, they were in love with Luka and LeBron in that frenzy of what could be a perfectly, in a perfect world, a 5-game sweep or 5-game gentleman sweep for the Lakers. But the Minnesota Timberwolves match up with these guys. The Minnesota Timberwolves, not only that, but they have a bunch of bodies that they can throw at Luka Doncic. Not only that, but they have a bunch of options offensively that they can make Luka have to play one-on-one defense with on the perimeter. They have multiple options of guys that they can do that with. Anthony Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley, Julius Randle. Like that's what separates Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid in certain situations. Like that's what separates them from the Lakers, where you look at them and you say, well, yeah, we got Luka and LeBron, but if Austin isn't giving you 17 and a half, then you're pretty much shit out of luck, because you're going to be relying on Gabe Vincent next. And then after that, you're going to be shit out of luck again, because you're going to be relying on Rui Hachimura to help carry that load over. So for me, like you said, what separates Oklahoma City and the Cavs from the rest of the bunch is they're taking care of business at the end of the day. Shea didn't have it in Game 1, for example. Okay, let's ball out J-Dub, Chet, Aaron Wiggins, Dort, anyone else, Isaiah Joe, Isaiah Hardenstein. Let's ball out. Screw it. We need it. Alex Caruso. Let's have a big game. Shea ain't got it going, but we're going to go ahead and keep up this defensive pressure to make sure that we can just go down here and continue our game. But because we know that no matter what, the Memphis Grizzlies ain't scoring on us today. So that was the same approach they had every single game. The Cavaliers are also a team that I think they won the psychological war. They won the physical war. They won, you know what I'm saying? And with because at first I was like, why the hell is Darius Garland targeting Tyler Hero like that? But then again, it's like, if you're Darius Garland, you're up 2-0. You know you're the better team. Like, 100%. Even though you know that this team has a history of making some insane runs, Jimmy Butler ain't here. So, by the way, Stephon Castle just won Rookie of the Year. Shout out Stephon Castle.
Hey, shout out Stephon.
But yeah, you know Jimmy ain't here, so you ain't got to worry about nothing that Tyler Hero may say to the media, even if he gives his team a little bit of confidence, right? You ain't got nothing to worry about with Duncan Robinson and Bam and Khalil Ware and Jaime Jaquez and Haywood Highsmith. You ain't got nothing to worry about with these boys. That's what I feel like Darius Garland was doing with that comment, where it was like, look, you're down 2-0 now. Even though I'm tweaked my injury, I tweaked my foot or whatever, I may not play in Game 3. Now you got to respond, because we're telling everybody on national television what our biggest offensive strategy has been that's worked so far, targeting you, knowing that you did have a decent Game 1 and Game 2 scoring wise, at least for your team, but you weren't able to win. To cut because it was a Game 2 was the closest one that they had, and I think that was a little bit under 10 points for the point differential. But that was the only game that they could say they were in this series. Him telling the media, yeah, we targeting Tyler Hero, and then Tyler Hero going out there and proceeding to drop 4 points.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. Like, I definitely think he can say whatever you want to say. My only thing is saying what you want to say and then not playing the rest of the series is
I agree.
crazy,
I agree.
Bro.
I agree.
That's wild to me. I agree.
But let me tell you this: from the psychological advantage, if you Darius Garland and you sit back,
No, he got it. Yeah,
you know, because Tyler probably like, well, damn, I can't even go at him, but I ain't even got 10 points by my damn self. I'm getting locked up. Like
it was bad.
Like,
it was bad. He was getting locked the hell up for sure.
They took him completely out of the series for the remaining 2 games offensively.
Oh, that's why Miami is interesting too, though, because they're at a clear inflection point. This team clearly needed to have Jimmy Butler to mask a lot of these areas. Their upgrade in terms of who's going to be next for them, they're going to be one of those teams that's going to be active this offseason and the next one. So I'm interested for sure in that.
Yes. Other than that, I don't really have much else. Do you, sir?
Oh, sorry about that. My phone.
You good?
You know what I'm saying? My bad. What you said?
I have nothing else left. I'm about to I need some water and I need to go get ready to watch these next few games, ladies and gentlemen. We got a good
games are live right now. Baby. Yeah.
We got I'm trying to tune in and see if the Indiana Pacers are going to be able to complete this comeback, even though they're down 6 points right now. And they were down, and like I said,
that's what the game of runs.
Moment in
the
time,
game of runs, though.
They can go on a run, and that offense looks like a prime 2000s Phoenix Suns offense right there.
And now you got to deal with it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that'll be wrapped up. Pistons Knicks coming up at 7:30, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a big one, man.
Drop your thoughts. I feel like the Pistons can pull this one out in New York. Magic Celtics, another big one. I think that the series is basically wrapped up. And I do want to say this one thing about the Magic, and then we can end it.
Sure.
The Magic offense is terrible.
Yes, not good.
I remember in the offseason on From the Logo talking about how KCP as an addition to this team could help them from 3-point shooting perspective. What I've noticed this season and in this series, KCP is not even as effective from the 3 as he's been defensively for them. In the majority of these games, Franz Wagner and Paolo have to drop 25 to 20 plus, have to orchestrate, facilitate, and just determine what the best play is to go for in a half-court set, whether that be Paolo driving to the rim by himself and trying to get to the free throw line or knocking down a fadeaway mid-range or whatever, or Franz trying to create double team actions to get guys open for knock down corner threes or whatever the case may be. Like, they're running the show offensively. KCP's impact on this team is not even remotely close to what it was, especially offensively, as it was with the Denver Nuggets in their championship run. Not even as close to what it was with the Lakers in his championship run over there as well. It's a whole different ball club of what he has to do and his responsibilities on the offensive end. Not to mention the fact that their bench, Anthony Black, I think Corey Joseph on occasion,
Jet Howard sometimes,
on occasion, like Jonathan Isaac on occasion,
De Silva.
Yeah, it's like and no, not to say those are bad players, but it's like your offensive help is non-existent. You got to hope that Anthony Black is having a good night. You got to hope that Cole Anthony is having a good night from 3. And it's a big thing to hope. You might as well just pray. Like, fuck a hope. You got to pray. So yeah, I don't like their offense whatsoever. They're lucky to have been in certain games as they've been in this series with the Celtics so far, especially the last one, because Celtics made 9 threes that game as a team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, other than that, I ain't got nothing, brother. You got anything else for the people?
Basketball's fun. First rounds have been pretty good. I think the Denver Clippers one is going to be my favorite series right now.
Yep.
To see how that shakes up. Another series where on paper it should be Clippers, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, excited. We'll be able to cover with basketball next week. I think by next week we'll for sure know all of the teams in the second round, so that should be fun. Make sure to tap into From the Logo for that next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tapping in with us on this special episode of From the Logo, where we covered Giannis Antetokounmpo's future, and we did answer the question of, well, I guess we can answer it with a closing one-word answer. Is it time for Giannis to break up with the Bucks? Yes or no?
I think so.
I think so as well. I think so as well. Chat, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments, especially after this live stream ends. But thank y'all for joining us today. We were 2 men short, but next week we'll be back with a special guest. Whoever it is will be from the panel. Whether that be Ox, Mars, Chill, Ron. Maybe I might try to pull JD out of retirement, wherever the hell he is.
Ooh, okay.
I miss JD, man. That's my boy. That's my shooter. Anyway, y'all have a good one. All right. We'll see y'all, and pray for the Bucks because they're about to blow this damn lead. I promise you.
Pray for them boys. Yeah.
Whoa. About to be in for a
Peace
rough
out,
time.
people.
Peace, y'all.
Have a good one. We'll catch